Hi, this is Scott with 4D Tech. Today we are in a 13 to 16 body style Lincoln MKZ that has the Sync 2 MyLincoln Touch system in it. We are going to be upgrading this to Sync 3 using the Sync 2 to Sync 3 conversion from 4D Tech. We'll need a few basic tools to do this conversion. A T20 Torx driver, a 7mm nut driver, and some plastic dash removal tools. Let's get started. We first need to remove these pieces of trim on each side of the center console. To do that, we'll take one of our dash removal tools, get underneath the edge of the trim, and kind of pull up and out to release the clips. And then follow our way up the dash. And same on this side. Next, we need to unclip these large panels on each side of the console. It's the whole side of each console, but it's all just clips, and you pull away and then lift out. So you'll start in the edge like this, just unclipping. You'll have to reach down and unclip the bottom ones as well, all the way to the front and all the way to the rear, and then lift the panel out. You'll have to push it up against the seat a little bit to get it out of the way. And then do the same thing on the passenger side panel. Once you have all the clips free, you'll lift this one up and out of the way also. We'll open up the console, and with those panels out of the way, we'll remove the 4 screws. There's 2 up here and 2 back here on the sides. With those 4 screws out, we're going to want to grab a hold of this compartment and pull up, and then pull back to unclip it. You can either disconnect the connector down here and set it aside, or just pull it back and it'll be out of the way as well. We'll now need to remove this upper grill piece of trim that it's up above the bezel to gain access to the screws up there. We'll use one of our plastic dash removal tools to get it started and pop it off. And we'll just swing that out of the way for now. Next, we'll take out these 2 7mm screws that are at the top of the bezel here underneath that grill. Now we need to remove the screws on the lower sides here. There's going to be 3 7mm on each side and 2 T20 Torx. There's one here for 7mm, and then one is in this recess here, and you got to make sure you take that one out as well. So we're going to take those 3 out on each side. Now we need to take out the T20 Torx that's on each side here. The last 2 screws that need to come out of the bezel are down underneath here in front of where this cup holder slid in. You'll see them when you look down there. With all the screws out, we'll now pull this bezel forward. It'll pop out of the dash. You get underneath it from the top and the bottom. And then once we pull it forward, we'll swing it sideways and we'll have to disconnect all the connectors. There's one in the bottom corner here. It's a long connector. The clip faces the passenger side. The wiring is kind of short, so you have to reach back there and look. And you can see that's the clip that we pushed in on to release it. The next one over here, you push on the clip where my thumb is and pull that out. This USB cable here on the back of the APIM module, we'll push down on that with our thumb and unplug. This large 54-pin connector here on the back of the brain, you need to push this little lock release in front of the gray lever, pull the gray lever towards you all the way till it releases, and then take it out. And then the last connector up here, it works the same way. We'll push the lock, gray lever, and slide it out. Next, we'll need to remove this brain with the brackets and everything off the back of the bezel. The best thing to do is to take this bezel and set it on a soft surface somewhere to swap that out. What we'll do for the sake of this video is set a blanket up in the opening. So that you can see what I'm doing. We'll have to take out the 4 T20 Torx screws, 2 on each side of these brackets, to remove the screen and brain from the bezel. Once those 4 screws are out, we'll remove the screen and brain in its entirety by tipping it out of the bezel like so. Now that we went and grabbed our Sync 3 APIM screen and brackets from the package, we're ready to put those in. The Sync 3 for the MKZ will come from 4D Tech with these brackets already pre-installed. So now we'll just need to put this back in the same way the other one came out. We'll have to set the bottom edge in first and tip it in. And then reinstall the 4 screws. Now that we have the Sync 3 system mounted to the bezel, we're going to move the bezel out of the way momentarily. And we need to install our Sync 3 antenna. The Sync 3 antenna is included in the kit. And it needs to be installed whether or not you're installing the navigation version. Even with the non-navigation version, you will need it because it is used to set the clock for the compass and 911 assist. So what we are going to do is this can be mounted underneath anything plastic up on the dash. So we'll route this down through from our speaker. Making sure to go around our vents so it doesn't get caught. And we'll hang it there next to the connector for the APIM. What we're going to do is actually adhere it to the bottom side of this panel right here so it lands in this space behind the speaker. Included in the kit is some alcohol wipes and double-sided adhesive. So we'll take the alcohol wipe and clean the top of the antenna. And then we'll clean the underside of this plastic. We'll peel one side of our double-sided adhesive. You'll want to make sure your alcohol is dry before you try and stick on the adhesive. Then we'll take this and we'll go just behind the speaker opening so that we don't catch this lip, but before these clips, and we'll stick it right there. And then we'll set this aside. Next, we'll install our bezel back in with the Sync 3 system and reconnect everything. We'll plug in this connector up here first. Make sure the lever is all the way open. Push the connector in, and then use the lever to draw the connector the rest of the way in. This large 54-pin connector, same thing. Lever needs to be all the way open. Push it in the back of the new Sync 3 brain, and then use the lever to draw it the rest of the way in. And then connect the USB cable to the black USB connector. And we'll take our new antenna connection, and right up here in the corner of the Sync 3 brain is a little antenna connector. You'll make sure the tab is facing down on the antenna, and plug it in. And then we just need to reconnect these two connectors at the bottom. And then we'll snap the bezel back in place. Be sure to tuck all your wiring out of the way so it doesn't get caught behind the bezel. And once it's in place, it will snap back in. Now we will need to put all the screws back in that we took out earlier. We'll start with the top two 7mm here. While we're up here, we'll snap the grill back into place. Now we need to replace the 3 7mm on each side down here. We'll put the 2 T20 screws that were up in these corners back in as well. And the last 2 screws for the front bezel were the 2 that we took out down at the bottom here underneath. Next, we'll need to put the center console compartment back in. We just need to slide that forward, making sure that the tabs on each side are overlapping the sides of the console, and push forward till it lines up, and then clip down in. Once it's clipped in, we'll grab the 4 screws, putting 2 in the front and 2 in the back on each side. With those 4 screws back in, we now need to put the large side panels back on. We need to carefully slide the panel back in between the seat and the console. You'll have to push on the seat a little bit to do so. You start by lining up these upper tabs that you can see easily and snapping them in, and then work your way down to the bottom. And then the driver's side also. With the large panels back in place, we need to replace these small trim panels on each side of the cup holder center console. You'll start by snapping them up near the top, and you kind of have to bend them to align the clip here into the hole, and then finish snapping it back in. Then do the same on the passenger side. Next, we need to change out the existing hub in the center console for the Sync 3 compatible one that comes in the kit. You must switch out this hub, as this one is not compatible with Sync 3, and you also need the new hub for Android Auto and Apple CarPlay to work. To change out the hub, we have to get the old one out first. So we'll take our plastic dash removal tool and work our way around the edge and pull out on it to get the hub out. There's an electrical connector here with a little tab on the edge of it on the outside. We'll push that in to disconnect that, and then the USB cable will push the tab on the back edge of it and disconnect that as well. This is a 16 that has this hub in it. If you have a 13 to 15 that came with this style hub, will include the mounting bracket that is in this vehicle now, and also an electrical adapter to go to the connector that's in there. With the 16, we need to pop out the hub out of the back of the adapter, and we'll push in on the tabs on each end of the hub to push that out. And then we'll take the new hub and slide it in. In the 16, these connectors will connect directly to the new hub. As I said, if you have a 13 through 15 with a larger style hub, you'll just use that electrical adapter that we include in the kit. Plug in the USB cable and the electrical connector back in, and we'll slide the mounting plate in. Now that we've completed the installation, we'll fire up the vehicle so the new Sync 3 system loads. With the system loading up, you'll see we now have Sync 3 installed in this vehicle. And since we installed the navigation version in this vehicle, the maps will load as well. Now you see how to install the Sync 2 to Sync 3 upgrade from 4D Tech in the 13 to 16 Lincoln MKZ. This is Scott with 4D Tech. Thank you for checking out our video.